Today, let's take a closer look at Abraham's journey of faith. How he moved from deep worry to complete surrender. Genesis 21:11-14 says, "The matter distressed Abraham greatly because it concerned his son. But God said to him, 'Do not be so distressed about the boy and your slave woman. Listen to whatever Sarah tells you, because it is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned. I will make the son of the slave into a nation also, because he is your offspring.'" Early the next morning, Abraham took some food and a skin of water, and gave them to Hagar. He set them on her shoulders and then sent her off with the boy. This passage shows a remarkable shift in Abraham's faith. At first, Abraham was deeply troubled about sending away Hagar and Ishmael. After all, Ishmael was his son. But in the end, Abraham gave them only some bread and a skin of water, and let them go. That simple act speaks volumes. If Abraham had still been worried, wouldn't he have given them more? Maybe some wealth, servants, or animals for the journey. Yet he didn't. Why was that? It's because Abraham had learned to fully trust that God himself would take care of them. And that trust gave him the peace to completely let go. Letting go of someone we love, or someone we've been closely connected to, is never easy. But through Abraham's story, we see how God can bring peace to a heart that's willing to trust him. So let's take a closer look at what God did in Abraham's heart. How he led him from worry to a deep and quiet confidence in his promise. First, God helped Abraham see things clearly, to separate human emotion from divine truth. Abraham may have felt responsible for Hagar, even affectionate toward her. After all, she bore him his first son. But notice how God addressed her, not as Abraham's wife, but as your slave woman. That wasn't harsh. It was God gently reminding Abraham of what was true. That Hagar was never meant to be his wife, but Sarah's maidservant. God was realigning Abraham's heart, helping him see relationships from his perspective, not through human obligation or guilt. Sometimes, we too hold on to people or situations because we feel responsible, or we confuse human kindness with divine purpose. But when God brings clarity, it's not to make us cold. It's to set us free to love rightly, and to let go when it's time. Next, God confirmed to Abraham that Sarah was right. At first, what Sarah said probably sounded harsh. Get rid of that slave woman and her son. Naturally, Abraham was upset. But then God said something surprising. Listen to whatever Sarah tells you. In other words, God was saying, Abraham, this isn't just Sarah's idea, this is my plan. Sometimes God uses the voice of others, even when it's hard to hear, to guide us toward his will. When Abraham realized that Sarah's words aligned with God's purpose, his heart found peace. He no longer needed to wrestle with guilt or doubt, because he knew this separation was not an act of cruelty, but of obedience. When we learn to recognize God's voice, even through uncomfortable circumstances, that's when true trust begins. Finally, God gave Abraham the greatest assurance, his promise. God said, I will make the son of the slave woman into a nation also, because he is your offspring. That single promise changed everything. Abraham realized that even though Ishmael would leave his home, he would never leave God's care. God himself would watch over him, provide for him, and fulfill his promise. That's why Abraham could let go so completely. He wasn't abandoning Ishmael. He was entrusting him into the hands of a faithful God. When we look at Abraham's story, we see a journey from worry to trust. At first, Abraham worried. Maybe he reasoned. Maybe he even tried to solve problems in his own way. But over time, his relationship with God had grown so close that there was no barrier between them anymore. God knew his thoughts, and when he spoke directly to Abraham's heart, Abraham could feel it, understand it, and respond. That's why he could obey so freely, without hesitation. This is what real faith looks like. Faith that listens, trusts, and obeys. And the foundation for it isn't our imagination, or even our best intentions. It's a personal, close relationship with God. So before we say, "I have faith," we need to make sure our hearts are truly connected to Him. And this is the key for us too. When our hearts are fully tuned to God's voice and aligned with His purposes, we can trust Him enough to let go, even of the things and people we hold most dear. So real faith doesn't grow in a day. It's not that you believe in the name of Jesus once and suddenly become a person of great faith. True faith is something that's cultivated over time. It's born out of a real relationship with God, the kind of relationship Abraham had, where he talked with God, wrestled with worry, and learned, step by step, to trust Him and act on that trust. Faith is formed in that journey from worry to trust, from uncertainty to obedience. And if you also want to step into that kind of journey, to learn how to walk with God, to hear His voice, and to grow a living, maturing faith, I warmly invite you to join us for the Key of David 30-day devotional journey. It's a simple, guided way to slow down, listen to God, and begin building the kind of faith that transforms your life.